Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Cosmic Conversations. I'm your host, Marla Martenson, and today I'm here with Darlene Green, the author of In Service to Love, a dynamic experience of consciousness, transformation, and enlightenment. And it's a channeled book, and Darlene is coming to us from Washington State, my home state. And thanks for joining me, Darlene.
Oh, Marla, thank you. It's just a delight to be with you. I feel like I've known you for a long time.
Yes, I'll bet if we dig in or you ask your guides if we had a past life together, we probably did. I wouldn't be
Yeah,
surprised.
I'm having a sense of wanting to cry right now, so I bet.
Oh, beautiful. Well, this is a beautiful, amazing channeled book. And tell us how you came to write this and the other books and started channeling. It's absolutely fascinating and something that I'm very interested in, and my viewers as well, connecting with spirit and getting those messages, divine downloads, and all of that.
I would love to tell you. There's really a couple of different tracks that are operating. One is how it is that my sensitivity led me to writing In Service to Love, and then the other part is what I've learned from writing In Service to Love. So I'm naturally empathic, intuitive, felt really kind of separate from the world in a lot of ways because the world felt really loud as I was growing up. However, I've discovered that that I had a council. I have memory of a council at age 4. And I remember I asked myself, it was Christmas Day, and I asked myself at 4 years old, staring into the diamonds dancing on the snow in Winnipeg, and I asked myself, why am I here? This is ridiculous. Humans are here and they're just emotional, and I'm not understanding why I'm here. And the words I got were to make people happy. Well, at 4 years old, that seemed to work. That seemed to be enough. And so at pivotal times in my life, I found that the voice of the council would come in and inform me. And it felt so natural to me that I didn't even question it. And my assumption was that everybody experienced that. And so, but at the same time, I also would consider myself as being unconscious because I didn't have any level of self-awareness. So there was this there was this absence of a bridge between my internal world and what I experienced externally. And so in my 30s, I decided that I was going to become a student of spirituality. And when I began to start meditating, that really is when everything started to break loose. What occurred was I started seeing angels. I started hearing angelic choirs. I started hearing the music of the ages. It's real. And so my level of sensitivity expanded in really extraordinary ways. So what I did with that was it propelled me further. There was something about that really felt like it was natural to me. And there was more to learn and more to learn and more to learn and more to learn. So I became an avid student. I never thought that I would be a writer. I considered myself a teacher and a healer. And so as my life started to unfold into these other dimensional realities, I started to study healing. And I became a massage therapist here in Seattle, and I was doing energetic healing work, and it's called natural force healing, which is a beautiful vibrational modality. And so I started to do that in a clinical setting, and I thought that I had found my ultimate space. I was really living my calling at that point. And then I had this internal yearning that the only thing I can think of, it was this pulling me to something else, but I had no idea what it was. So in my quest to learn more, I've been doing a lot of studying with Esther Hicks and Abraham. That work really resonated with me. And then I was at a bookstore here in Seattle, and a book called The Council of Light fell off the shelf and landed at my feet. Wow. And I
I've heard
knew,
of a lot of people saying that, like a book fell off the shelf and then they had to read it. So that is so cool. It's never happened to me, but I bet it's just like, wow, because books don't just like that, don't just fall at your feet.
I know, and I knew that it was a pivotal moment. It was actually a threshold. That if I were to step over that threshold, there was no way that I was going to be able to go back to the life that I knew. And I chose to move forward. I chose to pick up the book and started reading it. And once I started reading it, it's Danielle Rama Hoffman, a beautiful teacher and mentor of mine, and her book, The Council of Light. So as I started reading that work, I began having my own consciousness downloads. So what I'm saying really for that, as far as your listeners go and in their own personal process, is really trust your own internal knowing that you are being placed in the places that are appropriate for you at the right times. And if you can begin to trust that you already are on your journey, you already are placed in the perfect space at the perfect time, and then begin to develop a level of awareness around what really is happening in your life and begin to take a look at it with new eyes. What else is being revealed here? What is it that is present that is just below my awareness that I can learn from what's occurring in the events in my life right now? What are the messages? So what I'm saying by that, it's a way of being. Instead of looking at life as the same, look at life as you are already on the path, you are moving on the path, and then what you can do is begin to lean in to what you don't know. Begin to ask those questions that can create an opening for something new to appear. Consider that, and now I'm moving actually into a couple of the principles that were revealed in as I was writing In Service to Love, but it seems appropriate right here. So consider that the realm that you already know does not contain what it is that you're looking for. Otherwise, you would have found it. So as humans, we tend to keep on looking we tend to keep on looking for what we already know, and we keep on looking for a sense of knowing. And so that automatically blocks out new things to appear in our reality. Do you see how we do that?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so that requires like a slight reframe, like just like if you can picture yourself as a diamond, like just turn the diamond ever so slightly and begin to take a look at another facet of yourself. And what happens is that as you place your attention towards something that you don't already know, it's like moving into the unknown. What happens then is that it will rise up to the surface. So there's a difference in perspective with that really is very, very powerful. So back to my story. So I started doing work with Danielle Rama Hoffman, and through that I went to France. I was in southern France with Danielle, and she did a program called Scribe It. And I knew that I was supposed to be there. I just had this internal knowing, and again, it was not subtle. It was a pulling. It was a pulling for me to be in France for that event. And so when I went, again, I had some very powerful awarenesses, my connection with Mary Magdalene, my connection with Thoth as patron of the scribe, and I realized that who I am really is a scribe.
And so
And it
this
was
woman, Danielle, was she teaching people automatic writing? Is that what this kind of was, or describe it?
it was the beginning of opening it up. Like the way that I can describe it is that it's like she would hold space for this new awareness to land. There's differences between doing that and then teaching somebody how to do something like 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? There's a holding space so that my own internal resonance can land. And that's what occurred. That's what occurred for me. And so the Council of Light spoke through Danielle, and the words at that moment were high atop. This is high atop St. Baume, which is where Mary Magdalene spent her last 30 years. Those words were my voice, your voice, our voice, one voice. And what happened then was a new space opened up in my connection with the Council of Light. So I came home and I started writing. And were you going to ask a question?
No, I was going to say, was that book, The Council of Light, her book, was that a channeled book?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and because if it's still available, it sounds great. Like, everybody should read that one too. Yeah.
And Danielle's expression has more of the Egyptian archetypes to it, which also resonate really deeply for me.
Is she still around and working? Because it sounds like this was a long time ago. Is she? Okay.
No, she used to be in Seattle, but now she lives in France. And so absolutely, she's a beautiful teacher and mentor. You bet. Mm-hmm. And so check it out and see if there's a resonance.
Yeah.
And so when I came home from that trip, I started scribing. I started practicing moving into fine frequencies and translating light and consciousness into words. It's more than opening myself up as a blank slate. For me, it really is an experience of collaboration with the Council of Light, where what lands is a space of consciousness. So what happens is there's a Council of Light that is present and communicates transduces frequency and light to Thoth. Thoth transduces light and frequency to me so that I can receive it. And then that comes out in words. And the way I receive it is different every day. And it has to be different every day. And I'll tell you again why, but because it's in the now moment, and every now moment is different and unique. But it will land as a full concept sometimes, where I will get a diagram, and then all of the information about it, all of the different layers of information about it will also land, and then that comes out in words then that I also decipher, I participate in. This is not passive. And so then other times it will come through and it bypasses any thinking that I have, and it comes out like honey through my fingers. But it is absolutely, it's for me, it's a sacred experience. It's nothing that I take lightly. So moving again to your listeners, what I'm wanting to suggest or to offer is consider that below the personality, below who it is that you think you are, really is the essence of who you are. And begin to move your attention to who it is that you are as your essential self. And begin to listen with a new ear to what you are being moved towards. If you can bypass some of your own thinking and what it is that you make life, events in life mean, you can begin to filter out the static, so to speak, in order to find the laser clear, beautiful message of your own soul. So I'm going to come back around here to the importance of the now moment. The now moment, and we have heard, through the beautiful work of Eckhart Tolle, we've heard, how critical the now moment is really to our consciousness. And that truly has been my experience. I was aware of Eckhart Tolle's work when it first came out. But in my experience with writing within service to love, the now moment has taken on a completely different experience. If you can begin to consider, maybe if I could do a bit of an exercise right now.
Yeah.
Feel where it is that you are right now. And right now, where it is that you sit, you can feel the presence of your past. You feel it like a field of information around you, right? All the way back to your childhood. And if you have any other memories before that, you feel all of that presence around you. It's a part of it's a part of your beingness. And then there's where it is that you are in the exact immaculate now moment. And then there's where it is that your awareness is moved into the future. And it's moved there, particularly right now in our times with fear, with concern, with worry, right? And so imagine that when our fear is when we're with our fear in the future and we're with our memories of the past, we are skating by the now moment and we miss what's available in the now moment. So if you can, consider allowing the past to be a contribution to you. It already has gifted you with everything that it could possibly be gifting to you. And so now, with love, honor, and reverence, you may leave your past. That feels beautiful. So you leave your past. It's with honor and reverence, understanding you already hold all the contributions that it is. And with your awareness in the future, with grace and ease, bring your awareness back to your own center. You aren't in the future yet. You have no power in the future. Your only power is in this now immaculate moment. Bring all of your attention back to this now immaculate moment. And now you can say, with gratitude and appreciation, that I am contributed to by everything that has already happened in my life. And I choose to be fully present in the now moment as I create masterfully from my very highest expression. And you see now how the connection is open? Do you feel that? Do you feel a new opening there?
Yeah,
And so,
absolutely. Yeah. And what about people who maybe would say, yes, but my past was, I was abused, or I was, had all these things happen to me, or I did stupid things, or I was a drug addict, or, just think that they beat themselves up about the past or can't let go. A lot of people can't let go of the past, and they bring that into now, and therefore can't get into healthy romantic relationships or work situations, or they are humans tend to drag that up to now to prevent healthy situations emotionally and everything now. So any advice on that?
Sure. Well, what I would offer, what I would invite is grace, is to bring honor and grace and compassion to yourself. We as humans have all done stupid things. We've all done stupid things, things that we regret, but it's all been a part of our own process. It's like the threads that create a beautiful tapestry. That when you take a look at one thread, it may feel insignificant, or it may feel like it doesn't represent the totality of you. However, when you stand back and you take a look, you see how you couldn't have lived your life without having done that. That there was some richness that came to you through that experience. And it is difficult when there is that pain or abuse that is present with that. And so one of the things that was presented in the body of work for me is to take those parts of ourselves that feel separate and welcome them home. Even our fear, bring our fear home. there's not, it's no longer a time of separation. So it's really about now us, each one of us claiming our own wholeness. And so as I bring my fear back home and I allow it to rest here with me, then it has the opportunity to be able to evolve into the next expression. When I bring the sadness and the loss from the past, when I bring the betrayal, the loss, the whatever from the past, and I bring it present, it comes back to a state of wholeness.
Beautiful.
And so there may be some other work to do around that, but I'm saying it's not about stopping the sadness. It's not about stopping the fear. It's about bringing it back now into a new state of wholeness. Because from my own wholeness, now I can move powerfully in my world. And that really is what the books, there's 3 books of In Service to Love are about. It's really about us claiming our own wholeness. That when we can combine and integrate beautifully our human nature with our divine nature in a very real way, then what happens is that we become informed by our I am self. We reach the spaces of inspiration, and we can allow our life then to be lived from the voice of our soul. It's no longer about planning, managing, strategizing. It's about our essential self being able to be fully present in our life. And now we get the chance to live from that. And then what becomes possible. And that's really what the whole process of enlightenment is about. You know, and I used to think of enlightenment as being something that was out there and far, and it sounded really intriguing, but it never felt reachable. And did you have the same kind of an experience?
Well, now is the Council of Light, is this, can you explain a little bit to people maybe who are not sure what it is? And are these, so these are beings, energetic beings from different dimensions or
Yes.
planets, or, and then are, just explain a little bit about what they are and if we are all capable of connecting with them, if they're there for everyone.
Sure. Sure. The Council of Light introduced themselves to me when I was at 4 years old. But over my process of my own spiritual learning, I began to identify with, well, first of all, Jesus has always been very present in my life. And then through my own spiritual studies, and I always felt that closeness with Jesus. And then after I started doing the meditation and began to have visions and things like that, other angels, Archangel Gabriel and Archangel Michael, walked into my living room, actually, and introduced themselves. And so they are a part also of the Council of Light for me. And so over the years, I have been able to gradually identify who is on this Council of Light. And so it's Jesus, it's Archangel Gabriel, Archangel Michael, Mary Magdalene, Metatron, Melchizedek, the Great White Brotherhood, Saint Germain, the Hathors. And this goes, there are many, many, many beings that are a part of the Council of Light as I experience them now today. And what they all hold in common is the expression of love and sovereignty for all creation. And so on December 26th of 2017, the Council of Light came to me and invited me to sit with them as a scribe for 1 year and 1 day. And that body of work is called In Service to Love.
And a question, so when they came and invited you, was that through automatic writing that you heard it, or did you hear it in a meditation, or how was that communication transmitted to you?
Well, I woke up that day and I felt Jesus standing in front of me. I felt myself surrounded with angelic, sacred masters. And it's as though I was, and words rang through my head. The actual words were 366 be the light, 366 be the light, 366 be the light. And I was in tears in the presence of the sacred. And it's as though I was lifted up and carried to my office, where I sat down at my desk here and began to start writing. And the words poured out of my fingers. And there was an energetic, it's a collaboration. And I still don't understand everything about it, but it is a collaboration. And so I am student, I'm scribe, and I'm also on the Council of Light. And so I participate in many different ways. And what I'm suggesting to your viewers is that they already are as well. Consider that who you already are is already present. That the process that you have of enlightenment, the process of expanding awareness, consciousness, and transformation is not something that you must gain or you must learn about. It really is who it is that you are. So what there is to do then is to release who you are not, so that who you are can shine.
I love that. Like the diamond, it's in the rough, but then, you get to that beautiful chisel away. And also, just in case anybody's wondering, because I always want to know this too, when those angels, Archangel Michael and Gabriel, came into the room and you saw them, was this with your physical eyes, like you see someone walk in, or was this with the third eye? Because everyone would want to see an angel. We all want to see an angel.
Well, when you're in your house, and actually I can support people in beginning to learn to see a little bit differently. Okay.
Yes, please.
So so the way I experienced that was, when you're in your house and you can feel that a member of your family moves into the room, and you don't have to be looking, but you can sense them, right? Mm-hmm. Right? Or if there's somebody that is particularly powerful or holds a strong stance, right? You'll feel when they enter the room. It's that same kind of sensing that I'm suggesting you try to tune into, right? And so when I could feel these large beings walking into my room, but they're about 12 feet tall, walking into my living room. And I said, hello? They said, hello? I said, who are you? They said, Gabriel and Michael. And I said, well, thank you, welcome. And at that point, I hadn't done any studies on angels, and I didn't know that was Archangel Gabriel and Archangel Michael. The next day, I was doing my first energetic healing class, and I discovered that they also had contributed to this body of work that I was just beginning to learn. And
so you sensed them, but did you see with anything, light or anything with
yes. So thank you for bringing me back there. There's so much. So when if you're driving on a hot day and you see heat rising off of the pavement, it's like that.
Those waves, that heat waves, right?
Right. Those waves. And so when you are looking at something, so for example, when you're outside, everything that's living has an energetic field around it. Begin to start training your vision to look in a new way. Instead of looking at, I'm looking out my window here in my office. And so I see trees, I see a car, I see there's a house over there. Instead of looking at things, begin to train your eye to look in between things. Begin to pick up information of the between.
Like the energy or energetic frequency or something? Like, is that what you mean, between? Like, because everything is basically empty space is what they've said, it's matter.
It's the negative space that is the most rich. And you see, our human nature says, okay, that's a house, that's a lamppost, that's a car, that's a wall, but our nonlinear divine self says, this is all a part of the whole. So there is incredible richness and depth in the spaces that are not identified as something. So when I take a look out now, operating from a multidimensional awareness, what I see is I still see the house, the car, the trees, but I see how they are all joined together in a dance of creation. I see how everything is joined, and what looks like the empty space or the negative space actually is the joining. So in the same way that we have an inhale and an exhale, it's not like life does not stop at that in between point. There's an ebb and there's a flow, but there's that space in between. And so when we're taking on, when we choose to explore our own nonlinear awareness, our nonlinear self, it requires a new level of sensing, a new finer way of sensing. So for example, say you are at the mall and it's busy, it's crowded, there's a lot of noise, and somebody says, hey, do you hear that fan? Right? What do you have to do? What do you have to do in order to listen to the fan?
You have to tune everything else out and tune in to the fan.
Right.
Retention.
That's it, exactly. That's really what this process of beginning to hear newly, beginning to see newly is about. Begin to get curious about what's there. I wonder if I can see the halo around trees today.
I've tried to do that. I've tried to see on my walks with my dog. I try to see the energy of the trees and I can't see it. So I guess I just have to keep trying.
It's only yet. So what I'm suggesting is move your vision up to a new level. It's like who you already are is there. It's not like you're here and you're having to push your way to find it. Move your awareness to the part of you that already knows. So for example, consider, like right now, okay, you've already started to do it. You could move your awareness up above you to like your 8th chakra up above you. See, your field just expanded. So what happens then is that your awareness will expand depending upon where you place it. So it's like going to your kitchen and looking in the right drawer for something. If you want to access your fine-tuned sensing, raise your frequency up, raise your awareness up.
When I raised my awareness up, it kind of like the light kind of shifted in your room over there. It was interesting. I saw the brightness over there in your room.
But you see, nothing has changed in my room.
Right.
Your awareness has, you see? So next time you're out walking with your dog, raise your frequency up. Raise your frequency up. Move your awareness to a finer sensing capacity that you already hold. See, it's not something you have to, you already are it. So really, you're just taking off the record.
People want to know about, so everybody wants to know how to raise their frequency, because we always say we need to raise our frequency. So is it raised just by me being aware of the 8th chakra up there, just making that awareness that automatically raises the frequency up?
Yes, that you see, you felt a slight and subtle shift with that. Yeah. And you saw the difference in what appeared to you, right? And so if I can bring another analogy to raising frequency, we understand that frequency is we live within a bandwidth of frequency. We live within a standard bandwidth of frequency. And as we move, more on our spiritual path, typically what occurs, ideally what occurs is that our bandwidth frequency continues to rise and to rise and to rise. Well, what happens is that you can't on purpose change your frequency. So for example, here's another exercise. So for example, in order to experience that, imagine yourself in a hot air balloon right now. And the hot air balloon is your conscious awareness. And that the hot air balloon is on the ground, which is a typical bandwidth maybe of frequency. There's a lot of ballast and sandbags that are in the hot air balloon, and they represent unconscious beliefs, a default way of being. They represent holding on to the past. It represents awareness that is extended into the future, right? Things that we hold onto in our life that are a part of our field, right? That live typically below our awareness. So imagine now that the cords are cut to this hot air balloon. And now you may raise, the hot air balloon can raise. But the only way that it can raise is by you releasing some of the ballast. So the inner question is, what is it? And this is one that I ask all the time. What is it that I may release that will allow me to see more clearly? Yeah. And a sandbag goes over the edge. What is it that no longer serves me that I can appreciate and release? And another sandbag goes over. And as those sandbags are released over the edge of the hot air balloon, you find that the hot air balloon rises. Because the things that we hold on to may not go into high frequency. There is a letting go that must happen. Not in a push me, pull you thing, but it's as I choose to express from my most authentic self, there are parts of my human nature that really are not in sync with that. When I find myself worried, when I was growing up, I thought that everybody else was right and I was wrong. I had all of this internal stuff that was going on, and I made up then that everybody else was right and I was wrong for the level of sensitivity that I had. But I've had to let go of that. I have chosen to let go of that. I have chosen to honor the beauty of my own path and allow that to define my moments.
That's a great point, because so many people are looking out. I used to do it, looking outside for validation. What do you think about this? And asking all these different people opinions on things that, maybe someone I was dating or something I was doing, and it was always asking everybody else, and instead of going inside. And I see, as I also work on the psychic hotlines, it's like, intuitive guidance. And women will constantly ask me, what do you think about this guy or this relationship, or does he love me, or should I do this, or should I move on? Or they want that outside validation because they haven't learned how to go within and get it within, or from their own counsel or their higher self. Or it's a place that you arrive to. Often we arrive to it with age and maturity. Took me a long time, but it is once you get there, and you get also, I've noticed that I used to have a lot of chatter in my head, repeating, rehashing conversations or what I should have done, or a lot of which most people have, like I think Eckhart Tolle talks about that. Michael Singer in The Untethered Soul talks about that always conversation we have in our head. And somehow, maybe with the spiritual practice I've been doing, I notice I don't have it anymore. And it's just like you get at this place where you're like, it feels so good, because it used to just be a chaotic mess in there. And just being in that pool of your own inner knowing and soul, divine essence, giving you those answers.
Right. And so that's the perfect example of the journey of spiritual growth and expansion, that where we release who we are not. Have you heard Michelangelo, that when Michelangelo was carving David, he released everything that wasn't David. He
Mhm.
removed everything from the block of marble that
David
was
was
not
already
David.
there. He just really just chipped away, what wasn't, and
Right.
was there.
And so it is with us. Who it is that we already are, and this is one of the things that was shown to me in the writings. And now I can stand back now a year and a half after, or a year and a half, 2 years after having written, and now it continues to gift me with new perspective. And now I see that really clearly, that we all hold our own divine expression, and we are here moving through the earth in our own souls, in our own soul's journey, and a part of that journey is the releasing of who we are not. And so one of the things that the council would keep referring to is, it's like, remove the heavy woolen coat. It's summertime now. Remove the heavy woolen coat. Allow yourself to be able to be present now in your life. And
Beautiful.
so it's authentically, now it's about authentically being who we are and claiming that. And there is an ease that occurs. This is my experience as well. And I feel more and more and more like me. It's
Right.
not like I'm reaching outside.
And I think a lot of people who are feeling like the urge to always constantly post on social media and, like this, I think once you also feel like that, it's sort of like, well, you'll post when there's something, important to share, or there's something there, but it's not like a constant barrage of having to vomit out stuff or take in stuff constantly. I feel like it's for our modern time when everybody's on there and it's so noisy and loud. Um, yeah, it just gives you that freedom to not feel like you're missing out on something, or you better hurry and get so many likes or followers, or get, this or that. It's
Mhm,
gives you a little
mhm.
more, yeah, a lot of more ease and room there to operate from.
So, so if you consider that the spiritual journey is the process of being informed by your external world. Typically we're informed by our external world, and that's where all of this stuff comes. It's almost like mice, right? It's like, oh, there's a reward there, so I'll do that. There's a reward there, but there's something that's missing. It's missing the mark. It's not reaching the depth of who it is that we know that we are. So, amidst all of the busyness and the activity and the increase in technology and the connectivity and the onslaught of information, is this internal voice that I believe a lot of people feel, that is this all there is? Why am I here?
Yeah.
What is my journey here? What is my purpose? How can I begin to find that? Well, the answer is to begin to look in the right place. And so, and each person's journey is like perfectly unique for them because you're already on it. But it's begin to turn your awareness inside now. It's like you've already looked where things are not, right? Now it's about turning inward and finding what now can be possible.
I love it.
Yeah, can I read? There's something that's just coming up here to read, that it's a part of book 3. It's the beginning of book 3, but it came through actually on December 25th, this last December 25th. And it's called Love's Calling. The conscious journey to enlightenment is not a task to be undertaken. It is a calling. When you find the external world no longer provides the answers you seek, your heart directs you to look where you have not looked before. Your divine nature is present, whether you seek it or not. Each step taken in the journey of enlightenment is a threshold to be crossed to your next discovery. The prerequisites are presence in the moment and a willingness to release what you thought you knew, so you may embrace your divine nature. When you connect with your essence, each moment becomes an opportunity to be guided to your best life lived now. The path of enlightenment is not one with some far off reward. Your reward is garnered in each moment as you remove the blindfold of illusion and see the truth of the beauty around you and that is you. In the birthing of love's voice, all rejoice. Hallelujah.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
So consider the process of enlightenment as your own counsel, speaking, your own counsel of light, speaking to you, inviting you gently every day to begin to look in a new way. Begin to listen to the voice that is the subtle, still voice in your heart, and begin to fine tune your awareness to allow that to speak more and more. And as that speaks more and more, what is released naturally is what no longer serves. And so it's something really that occurs not in enlightenment in this process of spiritual growth. Isn't something that occurs necessarily in one class to another, although, or one, it's some, there are pieces there. It's like, consider it's a puzzle. There's pieces that are there. But the beauty of who it is that you are is unchanged. There is a process of uncovering your own perfection that is already present. The stumbling block is in, are you willing to take a look at considering your own divinity?
Oh, I love that. Consider your own divinity. Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Darlene, thank you for sharing this time with us and everybody. Darlene's links are below where you can find her book and where you can connect with her. And leave in the comments below your experience. Have you connected with the Council of Light? Have you seen an angel? Are you connecting with your divinity? Are you still up in your head? You know, with all this chatter, or are you like that Buddha that you see in the background of Darlene's room there, just calm and in the still water? So we want to hear from you and your experiences. And until next time, much love, everybody. Thanks, Darlene.
Thank you so much.